Right, everyone, welcome to this training. I am going to give you a quick rundown of how Jamboard works and how you can give you some ideas of how you could use it for lessons, in lessons, lesson starters, and how some ideas for remote teaching with it. Okay, so this is Jamboard's layout, and on here, this is the main screen that you'll see in first of all. Up here, you can see I've got 10 slides already produced. If you're just opening this up, you'll have one. Okay, so the sharing options work exactly the same, first of all, as if you were going to produce this if you're going to share it in Google Classroom. You can set it as an assignment and you can share it to just be viewed. You can share it so that all the class can edit one Jamboard, or you can set it up so everyone has their own Jamboard. Okay, the other way that you can set it up automatically is it won't be shared with anyone, and then you can just cast this like I'm doing now as just presentation software if you don't want anyone else to be involved in it. Another way that you can share it is just by using the share icon. So if you know that you want to share it to a couple of individuals, you can add there like you would to any document, or you can share out the link, which is set to be shared with anyone within admin house. So that's ways that you can share it out. So I've used this in a lot of my lessons, especially my English and my maths. And I'll take you through some of the functions now, and then some ideas on how you can use it. So the first thing that I do is set up rules with the class, and I have these on all of my presentations. So only move and add things when asked to by a teacher. Do not move anyone else's things. Always add your name to sticky notes, and accidents happen, don't get stressed. Okay, I can share this blank deck out with everyone, so then you can use this as a basis for other things if you wanted to. So these are in here. So what I've been doing with my classes when I first start using it is I just give them, I write off 15-20 minutes of a lesson to have a play with it. So here are some of the functions that you can have. A pen writes in different colors, and you can have different pen effects. So you can have a pen, a marker, a highlighter, or a brush. I prefer the marker. It just has a nicer round feel. And you've got a couple of colors to choose from. A razor rubs out anything that you've drawn. The arrow tool is used to select anything already on the screen. Sticky notes are brightly colored notes. They're really useful. I'll give you a few ideas of how you can use them in a bit. Images, so you can add an image from a drive, from your Google Drive onto the sheet. You can add different colored shapes, text boxes, and there's a lovely laser pointer tool that you can use to temporarily highlight stuff that automatically fades. Okay, so they're the useful, and it's if you give a child any editing access, so whether you do one for each child or you set them to be shared with everyone so they're all on, they will have these options. If you set them only as a viewer, they won't have these. Okay, so if you add them as a viewer onto an assignment, they won't be able to have any of these. If you give them any other options, they have the full whack of everything. So what we can do as well is we can set backgrounds. So here are some pre-made backgrounds, or you can add in a background from your images section. Okay, so I've just shown you a few of the backgrounds as we go through. So the first thing that I've done with my classes is ask them to use a pen to draw a smiley face. So that's just to let them get used to it, and it lets them get that doodling out of their system early as well. The next thing that I've asked them to do is use a sticky note. So my sticky notes is this button here. As you can see, you can type different colors. So if I just type in here, this is a sticky. And I always ask students to put their name afterwards, just so it's easily identifiable. They get a movable sticky note. So these are really nice. You can flip them around. If you want to re-edit that, all you need to do is double click on it, and you can re-edit your sticky. But these are really useful for quick feedback. So I've used these in English lessons at the moment. I've given a picture and asked them to give descriptive words on sticky notes or little descriptive sentences. And I'll show you a way that James Banfield School uses to do the zones of regulation. So they use sticky notes and a background, and I've set that up to mimic it to show you in a bit. So that's sticky notes, and here is the squared paper background. You can add text boxes. So these are lengthier bits of text. It's worth pointing out here that there are much less. You can't change the font. You only have set sizes that you can put on there. And you only have a little selection of colors and alignments. That's it. That's all you can edit. This is made to be pretty simple and effective, just to do very quick, basic things. Okay, it's not meant to be all singing, all dancing. And this is the scale grey background with squares. So some ideas on how you can use all of these things in lessons. This is one that I've used a few times now in my English group, and they've actually got to the point now where they can just do this. They don't need me to ask them to hold back. They just happily go on there, and as a group, they'll just select one of these each, and they'll start highlighting where I've made mistakes. So this is just a really simple idea. Note that I've already put these little see-through circles on here. So I set them up, and all I did here was use my shape option, drew in a circle, and then up the top you can change the line color, and I filled it to transparent so you can see through it. Okay, it gets a bit more complicated if you're asking them to put their own shapes on, because they've got to edit a lot more and it becomes a lot clunkier. Okay, options, you can delete, you can duplicate. If you're worried about ordering things, so if you're putting a picture on and layering up, then you can send to the back, bring forwards, and layer different images on top of each other that way. So this is what really effective. My English group aren't the highest English group in the world, but they really quite enjoy this. And then what I do is, at the moment, I'm just going through and correcting it myself. But I'm going to start, now that they've got the hang of this, is I'm going to start asking them to start doing those corrections themselves using the little pen icon. Another idea, so this is what I thought for the zones of regulation. So this is based off what James Banfield's does. What I've done, I've set this as a background, this image. I know it's not the one that we use, but I just Google searched whatever came up first. So as a background, I selected there, and you can put in any image that you've got. I then just put a little text box up the top. And then what you could do is ask them to put in sticky notes. You've even got a yellow, green, blue, and red or pink sticky note. So they can even color code it like that if you want to get down to that minutia. I am angry. Again, you need to make sure that if you want to, they're writing their names, because there is no other sign of who it is. So always make sure you get them to write their names on stuff. And then they can pop that wherever they feel, or they could write Y, etc. Okay. So that's what I thought for that. And then for maths classes, just a couple of ideas. I've used this with my maths group already last week. I know that Chris is using it with his maths group, using it for modeling. So there is a zoom function. So the squares are quite small on this, but if you zoom in, you get a lot more control over what you're doing. So 47 times 9. Okay, this is good for getting students to model what they're doing for you. Always make sure that they've got a mouse, because it is really tricky to do with the screen pad. A lot of our kids have touch screens anyway. Over on this side is an example of some modeling and some marking from a maths lesson, very much based on what I have done before with my class. Okay, so that's a lot of the options in Jamboard. As I said, this isn't all singing and dancing. You're not looking at transitions, animations. This is very much, here's a whiteboard. You can use this as a whiteboard if you want to, and it's more basic. If you want to push this out so the students can do some interactive tasks, it's a lot nicer environment than something like slides or docs to do an interactive group task, because there's less they can mess up. If you do have multiple people in here, then you can see who's on what slide. Their name, their little icons will appear up the top. Also, whenever they're drawing or moving anything, their little icon is shown next to whatever's being drawn, dragged, or moved. So you can see who's doing what on each slide. The downside to this is, if you're presenting, they're always going to be looking at what you're doing. If you've got people working within the same group, you can't forcibly move them onto a new slide. So if you're flicking through and you start at slide number 1, and then you flick through to slide number 2, everyone else will be waiting in slide number 1. You need to ask them to flick down to slide number 2. Again, my English group got used to this in 2 sessions, and they got used to navigating this easily enough. So there are the odd mistake where people accidentally drag things around, but it doesn't happen that much. Again, you can keep track of where everyone is up here and just say, Ben, come up into slide number 5 like the rest of us. That's where you need to be. Okay, that is Jamboard. It is worth pointing out that you can add, so I've prepped this Jamboard, you can add a blank Jamboard in at any point on Google Meet. There's an option on it. If you click on the 3 little dots in the bottom right hand corner, there's an option for a whiteboard and it says open a jam, and then you can throw a blank whiteboard straight in to model anything that you want to. Great. I hope this was really useful. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. I feel dirty even saying it. I hope this was useful for you. Let me know how you're getting on. And if you've got any more questions, please feel free to send me an email, peter.reeves@aberdeenhouseschool.co.uk. Right. I'm going to stop presenting and I'm going to stop recording. And I will take